so I wanted to make a really quick video just to kind of show you and quickly talk about how to properly bind off stitches when it comes to the Shadowsinger Showl, because you know there's nothing worse than binding off and for some reason your stitch count is off and you're like, how did that happen? So this is just a little teeny tiny swatch. So this is my beginning of round marker, and then I have my other three, and we're just gonna knit across a few stitches until, you know, let's say it says knit till X amount of stitches for your size. So you go ahead, you knit your stitches, and then it's going to tell you, sorry I was off camera for a second, it's going to tell you to start binding off stitches for the chest. What I like to do, so I know that I have those dedicated stitches that are going to turn into the wings, I like to place a marker. That way they're separated. So this guy's here, so now I know from this side on I've knit those X amount of stitches. And then when I go to bind off, because we're going to do stretchy bind off, I'm going to knit 2 and then go in, ooh, fingers are all tight, knit 2 and then knit 2 together, or try to knit 2 together through the back loop. And I have bound off 1 stitch. And I can tell I've bound off 1 stitch because I've got one little bar right here, right there. And the purpose of putting this little marker here helps, because what could happen is that you could knit your stitches that's required in pattern, right? Let me unstitch these ones real quick. So let's say you've knit the amount of stitches that the pattern asks for, and then you go to bind off and you knit 1, and then you knit those 2 together. You're technically now 1 stitch too short that you're going to need for the wings later. So I like to make sure, like I said, I'm going to unpick this, that I put that marker there after I've knit my required amount of stitches, and then I can knit a couple and start doing that bind off technique. That way I'm not gonna get myself into trouble, you know, and I'm knitting across, but you know, you would continue in pattern and you would just keep binding off stitches, however many it tells you for your size to bind off. You just keep on going. Once you kind of get to your middle marker, you can take it off. Kind of at smooth sailing, so you can also see those little bars. That helps me count like how many I've also cast off too. So let's just say, for giggles, oops, I've started knitting some. Let me unpick those. Okay, I am back. So I actually bound off like I was supposed to, not getting carried away with my knitting. And now that I've bound off my little swatch chest stitches, it's time to continue knitting for that second wing. So just remember that this last bind off that you did, that 1 stitch is going to count towards your stitch count on the back, okay? So we're going to continue knitting around until we get to that beginning of round marker. So let me get there real quick, and then we just have 2 more stitches to bind off for the wings, which is really nice. So you're going to knit to the marker, and we're going to slip that previously knit stitch over the one we just did. See that little guy right there? I'm going to slip that marker, going to knit 2, and we're going to do the same thing. That's going to give us just a little bit of separation between these guys, here and here. And then we can, oh, that wasn't in focus, I don't think, I'm so sorry. So, like I said, we have our beginning of round marker, and you can see there's this stitch been slipped off here, and a stitch that's been slipped off there, and there. So what happens now is that we are going to work flat, and we can just continue knitting around until we get to the end. And you can follow your pad instructions. I think for mine it's like, you know, pick up one of these and knit it together. I'm not looking at it right in front of me, but now we have this bind off gap here that's separating. Now I have wing 1 and I have wing 2, and then you just follow the instructions as so. So I wanted to add on real quickly how you would use something like this. I call it a pro string or a bobbin cord. People call them stitch savers. Whatever it is, it's just this little plastic tube thing. How I like to use it to hold one of my wing sections while I knit the other. So if you have just separated for the two, let's say I'm going to just quickly, this isn't going to be in pattern or anything, but I'm going to just quickly knit across these just to get them out of the way. But let's say this is that wing 1 that you're starting to work, and what you're going to want to do is put wing 2 on the burl string just to keep them situated and out of the way. Much easier to work, in my opinion. Technically you could keep them on there, but I just think it's nice to not have to worry about them, to be honest. So right, we're at the end. We're just gonna take that off. This is wing 2, so I'm gonna get my little string saver or pearl saver, whatever you want to call it. Stick that on my needle right there, and just gently, and you know, if you do it too hard sometimes the little thing will pop off. Just get those stitches on there, and bam, they're out the way. So now wing 2 is on this string right here, and you can just focus on wing 1. Obviously this is not in pattern from the instructions. I just quickly put that on there just for sake of, you know, doing a video. So wing 2, chilling, focus on wing 1. Hope that's helped. All right guys, happy knitting.